night was grey. The moon was a strange kind of brightness. An unnatural light hung in the clouds. The large, derelict houses loomed over her. Ariana felt threatened. At that moment, she realised that she was alone. And for the first time ever, no friends, no family were there to assure her. There she stood, staring into the hole in the ground that had just opened up before her like a sinkhole to hell. All was quiet. All was still. Ariana took baby steps closer, being careful not to lose her footing. Shuffling as close as she dared to, she peered cautiously into the hole. All was black. The abyss that she faced appeared bottomless. She shuddered as she thought about the depth of the darkness. It was the feeling people get at the edge of a tall building. She became uneasy and frightened at the fear of how deep this was. However, in this moment, this is not what Ariana should have feared the most. For what was lingering at the bottom of this hole, staring back up at her, was far more terrifying. The air suddenly turned. A foul stench of death lingered. The faintest of light hit the window from a passing truck. Without even noticing, transfixed on the hole before her, Ariana, in that moment, fell backwards, hitting the floor. Panicked, she scrambled on her hands, crashing into the wall behind her. Dust hit the air and fell on her like raindrops in a storm. The only source of light had come and gone within a second, and she was back alone. Only this time, she knew that although she was alone, something was with her. She had seen its eyes. The darkness was back again. Her mouth dried, sweat dripping down her forehead. Her heart seemed to thunder in her head. Her eyes widened as the sickening reality dawned on her. The hairs on the back of Ariana's neck stood on end. Her breathing shallowed, her blood froze. Her hands clawed at anything she could touch beside her. Unable to see anything, she clung onto a shelf above her and pulled herself up. Uncontrollably shaking, she patted the shelf above her in the hope she would find something she could use for light. A torch, she whispered. She grabbed it and pulled it into her chest. Its light flickered 3 times, and then she was back into darkness.
What was that? What was that? Ariana quivered under her breath, too scared to move. This time her adrenaline took over. She ran as though being chased by a monster. A monster with perfect hair? She was confused. Robbie? Turning back round, she tried to make out the shape of the beast coming towards her. Is it a demon? Or is it just Robbie? Aria could not tell. She would not be able to tell a difference in the light. She had no hope in the dark. Hiding behind a boulder, the creature passes, dragging its feet, shoulders slumped. The creature seemed almost worried that her hair may be out of place. This is her chance to find her way out. As the creature slowly made its way through the tunnels, Ariana silently followed, keeping her distance, but not too far as to lose the sight of it in such poor light. Hours had passed, and Ariana's hope seemed to be doing the same. As the monster continued to plod on, she thought to herself, "There's no way this could be Robbie. He wouldn't walk this far." Just as the last flicker of hope was about to be drained, she could see it. The opening. The beautiful opening. The best opening she had ever seen. I mean, she could not tell just yet what the opening looked like, but it was all too with the relief of finally seeing the way out. With excitement she jumped, let out a small squeal, and ran towards the faint line in the distance. Now the creature was scared, but Ariana ran so fast She passed the creature without realising. The creature just stood there in disbelief. Where had this person come from? As Ariana came close to the opening, she could start to see the world outside. The beams of sun, the blue of the sky, the dancing of the trees as the breeze passes through them. And sounds, she could hear all sorts of sounds. Some she could make out, such as the songs from the birds, but others did not make any sense just yet. Still running, the exit now only meters away, Ariana let out a few tears of relief. As she stepped into the sunlight from which felt like an eternity of trying to find her way out of the cave, her sight still not had fully adjusted. She realised that maybe this was not the paradise she had imagined it to be. Her heart stopped as she heard the faint sound of the rocks moving behind her. She froze. As she slowly turned her head, she could see a quiff of feathers sticking out from the rock behind her. It was immaculate and had an almost godly shine to it, as if it were the sword from Excalibur, luring her in to attempt to pull it from the rock it was cast within for the righteous one. Ariana knew that she should run out into the unknown, but found herself drawn towards it. Conscious of it, she realised she'd been walking toward it as it moved suddenly and the glow appeared on the edges of the rock. She stopped and took a deep breath when an object leaped behind her. Its figure was that of a man, as if it had been chiselled by the almighty gods. She realised that the feathers she had seen earlier were in fact this figure's hair. It was the most beautiful sight that she had ever seen, and it glistened like the moonlight in a tranquil lake. He was naked, but she was not scared, even though the appendix between his legs would destroy her. She found herself drawn to its beauty and was prepared to die if it meant having it inside her. The figure's eyes started to glow a demon red colour as he shouted with a roaring voice that echoed down the chamber of the cave. I am Robo Robbie, gatekeeper of the cave. I have been following this imperfect human who is not worthy of my presence, and she leaves my world. State your business. She was confused. She was the only one in the cave, but she noted that as he lifted his head, there was a shadow amongst the rocks that could only be coming from someone else. She heard a buzzing noise as another voice came from somewhere she could not see. I am Spider Mikey, commander of the Spider and the Bees. I have been searching for your paradise to take it away from you. My loyal followers, Kangaroo Roop, who has an extraordinary kick, Earth Zoe, who controls Mother Nature, and a human, Craig, who just follows us around with a camera and puts us on his story, are all ready to attack. So put your appendix down. Robo Robbie started lassoing his appendix in the air. Ariana somersaulted as the appendix flew towards her, dodging it by millimetres. She landed back on the ground, panting for breath. Spider Mikey's menacing collection of spiders and bees flew straight at her with the ferocious sounds of clicking and buzzing. She scarpered into the opposite direction but ended up face to face with Kangaroo Roop, with his sharp paw claws lined up ready to kick her all the way to Australia. Ariana quickly dived, narrowly missing his claws, sending the spider and bee army right into his face instead. He exclaimed. Ariana stood up from her dive, only to find the other followers began to circle around her. She threw her torch at Earth Zoe, but she deflected it with ease. Robo Robbie crackled with a robotic laugh and began to lasso his appendix once more. Suddenly the appendix exploded, decorating the entire team in scarlet blood and gore. Craig reached for his camera to Instagram the action, but his phone exploded out of his hand with another deafening... Absolute horror filled his eyes. Spider Mikey, Kangaroo Roop, Ariana, Earth Zoe, Craig and Robo Robbie turned around to face a mysterious foe wearing spectacles. This dark figure came out of the shadows. Everyone trembled in fear. Beads of sweat dripped down Ariana's forehead. Even the spiders and bees stopped crawling and buzzing and rested back onto Spider Mikey's shoulder. The figure loomed forward, clutching a flamingo pink coloured assault rifle. The silence was broken by a demented chuckle.
"Hello, daddies!"
The menacing figure cackled. Everyone stood in shock.
"My name is Ben too, and I've come to make you all my bitches."
His voice echoed for miles.
"I see you are quite a group of impressive talents and skills. You will all become my slave squad to do all my evil bidding and make this paradise mine. Especially you."
Pointing ruthlessly at Ariana. Ariana exclaimed, "There's no way in hell! I don't even know these people!"
"If you cannot submit, I will take the choice of life away from you."
Ben 2 fired his rifle, sending flaming missiles towards them. The missiles exploded around them in a haze of fire and destruction. The group coughing and wheezing as smoke filled the air. Ben 2 aimed at them again. Suddenly, Ariana and the followers could hear a collection of high-pitched shrieks and the sound of flapping. The villain, Ben 2, looked up in the air in disgust. A team of swooping pterodactyls began to fly over their heads. The one in front being ridden by Ben Braybrook, wearing a pair of spectacular vintage goggles and a cigar drooping out of his mouth.
"I hate groups of people, especially when they walk too slowly. This should do the trick,"
he muttered. Ben 2 pulled out a gold-plated AK-47 of a large drum magazine.
"Get ready, guys. Things are about to get buzzy,"
said Commander Mikey.
Quick, get into defensive positions."
Without question, Earth Zoe used her psychic earth-bending talents to create a wall made of black volcanic rock. Kangaroo put on his lead-weighted boxing gloves that were stored in his pouch. Robo Robbie used his go-go gadget technology to produce crab-like pincer claws in place of each hand. Craig knew this would be an ideal opportunity to gain another 2 followers on Instagram, so pulled out a different phone to record what was to become. Ben 2 shouted,
"Pterodactyls! Kill them all and bring back my precious!"
The pterodactyls gained speed, launching a vicious attack. Kangaroo jumped into the air and with one swift move thrusted his fist upwards into an oncoming pterodactyl. With an echoing crack, the pterodactyl's skull fragmented, causing the beast to die instantly. The kangaroo turned to his friends to gloat of his first triumph. However, this was short-lived. As he turned, the pterodactyl ridden by Ben Braybrook swooped in, piercing his chest with its long reptilian bird-like beak. Beast shook its head, dislodging the once brave and admired kangaroo down into the depths of the cavern. Craig at this point had over 12 viewers watching his live stream. To his shock, he had also gained an extra 3 followers, one more than he had anticipated. He was delighted and over the moon with his efforts. "Hey guys, guess who's coming to be the next biggest Instagram star?" As he says this, he looked back down at his phone. An error message appears. It reads, "Your account has been disabled for violating our terms. We restrict certain contact and actions to protect our community. No! His screams, however, were cut short by a shower of bullets fired from Ben 2's AK-47. Commander Mikey ran over to help Craig and poured honey into his wounds. Honey has antibacterial properties and has been used for thousands of years to treat wounds. You should be fine. He was not. The honey seeped through the bullet holes in his body and pooled on the ground behind. "Oh, Zoe, find us a way out of here and get help," Robo Robbie bellowed as he caught a pterodactyl mid-flight, his pincers severing the head clean off his body. To be continued.